were in conditions that isolated us completely from civilization. We got so degenerate, so isolated, living in this mud.
And you could sympathise with how a rabbit must feel, because we were hunted by mankind, just the same as a rabbit.
You knew your lives were in one another's hands, and it united you very closely, and you didn't let anything interfere with that.
Peter, They Shall Not Grow Old. I saw it last night, and I found it really affecting. And there are two areas I want to talk about. Firstly is the philosophy behind it, and the other is the technical side.
Sure.
But let's start with the sort of philosophical thing behind it. What's the idea behind the project? What are you trying to achieve with the film?
The only brief was basically you can do anything you want, but we just want you to use our archive footage in a surprising way.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I went back to New Zealand, and then I thought about all the computer visual effects firepower that we've got back home, and I just thought, and it wasn't even what this film's going to be, but the thought came into my head, well, I wonder how well you could restore old film with this computer technology. Let's see how good we can make it. So they sent me 4 minutes or so, and we've spent a long time on figuring out how to get this film looking as good as we possibly could, and I was blown away. I mean, it was like, as someone who's seen a lot of World War I footage over the years, I just couldn't believe how good this stuff was, and it was still just black and white, but these guys came to life. We figured out how to get the speed looking good.
How did you solve the speed issue? Because, of course, because of the frame rate that most of that footage is shot at, it is quite difficult to make it look natural motion.
Computer firepower. But what the computer essentially does, and this is what computers can do now that old, because we've seen films slow down and documentaries in the past, but they can slow it down in a sort of jerky kind of way. Yeah. It's like a step printing. But what we got computers to do is they could build the frames that were in between, and they had to do it for any speed, 10 frames a second, or 18. And the computer basically just builds new frames. So it builds it automatically.
So it creates a composite between frames A and B. It kind of creates a midway. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes it has to create, if you've got 10 frames a second, I mean, you've got to sort of turn 10 frames into 24, so it's doing more than just one frame.
Yeah.
But it still does it quite well.
What about the colorizing process? Because I was really struck by how natural it is. I mean, the poster, we have the colorized image on one side and the black and white image on the other. I was really surprised because I have seen very bad colorization done in the past. Sure. And so hearing about it, I was kind of trepidatious, but I was really struck by how lifelike it is.
Well, that was another thing that I had no clue about. I'd never done colorization before. And I discovered really that, look, there's no secret to colorization. You just cut out all the individual shapes that have different colors. And really, the more time you spend on it, the better it gets. And so fortunately, we were able to spend a reasonable amount of time, because I wanted, if we were going to colorize it, it had to be reasonably good. It's a simple formula, really, that colorization's not hard, but it rewards the amount of time that you spend. If you spent twice as long on the colour that we did, it would look a lot better. It's just like the amount of detail you put in. Eventually, schedules and times, you just got to move on to the next shot. But we certainly, most of the time, I'm pretty pleased with the colour.
And what about the dubbing? Because I was watching it, and your mind plays a trick on you, which is you start to marry the dialogue and the thing. So how
we wanted to make it seem like it wasn't a silent film.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we laid a really detailed sound effects track, which again has probably not been done because TV docos can't really afford to do. You have a horse going by and they put horse hooves, and that's as far as it goes. We got some forensic lip readers to look at the footage, because there are people that actually do that, for the police and stuff on security camera footage, silent footage, and they have to read the lips of what people are saying. So there's some pretty clever people at doing that, and they had a look at it all, and they said, oh, well, in this shot, this is what the soldier's saying this, and this is what the soldier's saying this. So then we got actors to record that.
Yeah.
And we were careful. The amount of detail, like we looked at the regiment that they were in, if it was a northern regiment, we tried to get the accent right of what the particular regiment was. We tried to get the person from that region to do it.
Did you get the feeling when that sort of thing happened that what you were doing was unlocking something that had always been there? Because it kind of almost feels like you pierce the film and the actual thing comes pouring out of it.
Well, we set about trying to bring these guys to life. The one thing that the film restoration does is it puts humanity. The faces of these guys, they become human beings, and I got really that's the thing that affected me when I saw it. When I saw the restoration starting to happen, is I thought, God, these. And partly the most of it, you can clean it up and sharpen all that, but I think it's the moving, it's the natural speed. It's when you get them moving at the speed that they should be moving at, they suddenly, all the nuances, the little gestures, you see things that you never saw before. It was that moment when the restoration started to happen that I thought, well, actually, this is probably the best thing we can do here, is to make this their story, not a story about the First World War, but just what it was like to be a soldier.
You live like tramps. You didn't polish any buttons.
The audio, whatever the soundtrack is, all we should have as veterans, no historians, no one else. It should just be told by their own voices. And fortunately, the BBC had made that series A Great War in the 1960s. And I said, do you have all those tapes of those guys that you interviewed in 1963? And they did. And they had, they even found ones that they didn't think that they had. And we just used the content of those audio interviews. So that, in some respects, dictated the actual film itself.
When the war was not very active, it was really rather fun to be in the front line.
I sort of understand these soldiers more than I ever did before now, because we always look at them as victims of the mincing machine, which they were, but they didn't see themselves as victims.
It was not very dangerous, a sort of out-of-door camping holiday with the boys, with a slight spice of danger to make it interesting.
And that is actually, that I think is in all things, with all the interviews I read, that's actually a very accurate indication of how these soldiers felt. They were going on an extended Boy Scout camp with a little bit of danger to spice things up, and that's what they thought they were in. We all think of it somewhat differently now, but I just thought it was nice that they could tell us what they thought for a while.
No, it is remarkable how many smiles there are, and how many at the very beginning when you start with that montage, people saying, I couldn't wait to get there. It was going to, I was terrified that it would be finished before I got to the front
also
line.
the guys that say, if they asked me, I'd do it all over again.
Yeah.
No, they didn't see it in the negative way that we see it, in a weird way, because they were proud of what they did. They were proud, and they also, the thing about it too, which really touched me, is they just said, they come from these, some of them come from quite hard lives, and some of them went back to quite hard lives. And one guy, the quote that almost made me cry is, he just says,
Everything was friendly. There was a terrific lot of kindness in a way to each person.
There was a lot of kindness, which they didn't have at home, and they didn't have at home afterwards. But in the trenches, people were kind to each other. Your lives depended on your friend, but they also shared parcels. If someone got a cake from home, I don't think we use this in the film, someone got a cake from their mother, then it was immediately all chopped up and given to their friends. People were kind to each other in a way that they never had experienced before, and probably didn't experience again. Complete strangers had to help each other survive, and I think they all were very, very affected by that.
I think you capture it brilliantly. Congratulations, as I said.
Thank you.